Good morning, my name is David Hicks. I'm really pleased to be here this morning, and I'm even more pleased to see so many smiling, awake, attentive faces to listen to this incredible bloke. No pressure, Jamie.
Yeah.
From B&Q. So I have a question for the folks in the audience. How many people spend at least one weekend in 4 in this guy's store? Come on, you can fess up. How many of you? Why are the blokes putting their hands up more than the women? It's an incredible success story, the B&Q business and the wider Kingfisher business. I'm particularly pleased to have Jamie here, somebody, he'll tell you about his own story, but somebody that knows this operation from a number of different levels in the business. And we're going to get into streamlining operations for a faster shipping process. Is that going to be useful?
Yeah.
Yes? Good. Just so as you know, my background, I've been involved in the field of logistics, supply and marketing for 30 odd years. I used to be the marketing and strategy director at Royal Mail before I moved to the US. And I've been advising the leadership team at the UPS business for the last 10 years. So I'm involved enough to know what's dangerous and a few scars and stars on my back. But what I find useful at these events, because I now make a living chairing events, 22 events last year, 25 events this year, folks find what's really useful is when you can ask practical questions and we can get into the how do you do this stuff. Would that be useful for yourselves? Because if so, you'll find me saying, hey Jamie, what did you mean by that? And I'll also be seeing if you're asking questions, I'll be inviting Frida and Phyllis there to actually say any questions that you've got. So I'm determined that you get some practical, useful stuff from this session. Yep, good. So I'm hoping that you can hear us. We don't really know if you can, so if you can sort of thumbs up or nod or shake, perfect, even better, so we know that we're not talking to the rest of the conference. So Jamie, how was your journey here this morning? Where did you come from?
Literally across the road.
Really?
So I stayed in the Holiday Inn Express, the exciting life of that. So yeah, not far.
Flashing out, Holiday Inn Express.
Yeah, really pushed the boat out in Kingfisher. So yeah, it was good.
Where is home?
So home Salisbury for me. So famous for a lot of different reasons. It's got the Europe's tallest spire, but probably the most famous, unfortunately, is Novichok. That's what everyone seems to know us for now. Yeah. But yeah, Salisbury's where I'm from. Originally, I was born in the Midlands, so but yeah, Salisbury's where I live now.
So take a minute to tell us your story to this role in B&Q's. I'd like to give the folks an idea of the lens through which you're going to be sort of describing what you do.
Yeah, thanks. So I'm definitely an operator through and through, so I've worked for B&Q now for 15 years. I did have a bit of a break when I went through uni, but I started my career when I was 16. So I started stacking shelves, if I'm honest. So I started on the shop floor, so I know from the ground up some of the experiences that our colleagues are having day to day. So I started when I was 16, went through different levels of management. I actually had a bit of broken service where I sort of left through uni, and I rejoined B&Q on their graduate management trainee program, and then worked through different levels in the organization, through different functions, commercial, operations, marketing, and then I've ended up at the job I've got now.
So you've worn the orange pinny then?
Yeah, I've worn the orange pinny through and through. Yeah, I have, got that.
Did you bring one today?
I didn't bring one today, no. I did say I would, but next time I will. I'll get a free opportunity for branding.
All right, and tell me, when it comes to B&Q, I want to ask you about your current role, but what is it as an employee that's been there through the business? What is it about that business from an employee point of view that keeps you there, that keeps you coming back to that store? What is it that's special about it?
So I think everybody you speak to within B&Q references our can-do attitude. So we are a one-team culture. We are very humble and we're quite fun in our approach. But I definitely say the big thing that goes through all of the organisation is our can-do spirit to sort of get things done. And that gives a level of autonomy to our colleagues that I don't think replicates itself in any other business.
So the scale of the business and in your role, so how big is the B&Q business now in the UK?
So in terms of turnover, we do about 4 billion a year in terms of turnover. So we are the biggest opco in Kingfisher, and we deliver the biggest amount of profit. Within the Kingfisher umbrella, you've got banners like Screwfix, Brico Depot, Castorama, and Bricolage. We've got loads of different retailers across the Kingfisher, the group. So yeah, B&Q being one of the biggest.
And the number of stores?
Number of stores, we sit at about 312 at current count, and then we've recently just branched into different formats. So we've recently launched our B&Q local brand in our inner city, so specifically in London. We've got 10 stores with them, but yeah, 312 stores across varying sizes.
So that's your background, that's the stores. Tell us what's your role in the current business?
Yeah, so my role currently in the business is to look at our in-store fulfillment proposition. So it started...
In-store fulfillment?
Yeah, in-store fulfillment.
So how many of you do in-store fulfillment in your businesses? Yeah. That's quite rare. Yeah. In-store fulfillment?
Yeah.
That's not...
No, it's not casual, it's not usual. Definitely in our market, it's quite unusual. So I think the most traditional example of in-store fulfillment would probably be Tesco's or Foodies, so that's probably the ones you're used to seeing that more. So that's where they'll pick from a local distribution centre or one of their stores, it tends to be their local stores, and they'll deliver it to your house. So what we've done is we've effectively taken that model and applied it to B&Q. The journey sort of started through COVID. So we had plans in place in Kingfisher to always do store fulfillment, as we believe that's the best place for us to get closer to our customers. And COVID sort of accelerated those programs. Backed by Thierry in Kingfisher, he learned some interesting market behaviors in Asia in particular, where that speed to market and speed to customer is really important. And the only way we're really going to get closer to our customers is actually fulfilling out of the back of our stores. So we've got a distribution network in our store estate of 53 at the minute. That covers 90% of the UK population, and we can get to them within an hour. So in terms of speed to market, we have positioned ourselves really, really well, but the journey to get there was quite tough.
Righto, so you had a vision that you wanted to do store distribution, but COVID actually provided the sort of the prompts to get it. And you're saying you do this in every store or just in specific stores? So
we do the home delivery element in specific stores, so that's in our 53 stores, but we also fulfill out of all of our stores through our click and collect proposition. So my role is to look at that whole journey. So I look at in-store fulfillment, not just for home delivery, but also for click and collect. So at current count, that's about 85% of everything you buy on the website gets fulfilled from a shop. So that is massive in terms of change in behavior, in terms of percentage, and it's probably one of the biggest in the market when you look at that store fulfillment element.
And does it work for you?
Yeah, so we recently sort of done loads of investigation whether we think this model is sort of the one we want to see in the future, and actually the reality is, from a profitability point of view, it's really good for us. So we're using existing assets we've already purchased, so we're using our store estate, so we're using white space that we can get into really, really quickly. We're also using the stock we've already purchased. So we don't have to invest in a big distribution centre like other retailers do. And actually for us, that's really critical. That reduces our working capital as a business, and actually means as an efficiency point, we're quite efficient in terms of our stock usage. Probably the other key critical bit to point out with our current model, with our 53 stores, is that point I said is we are the closest to our customers. We believe that is more sustainable than any other model we could put in place with a distribution centre. And I think everybody in this room would have seen in the market, Amazon, DPD, everybody is shifting their strategy to micro fulfillment centres because they want to be really, really close to the customer, because they know that is the most sustainable way of doing business, but also the best way you're going to get speed to market.
So I want to drop down into some more detail there, but anybody got any questions so far? A practical retailer, started as a 16-year-old and so on, now leading all things digital. I'm padding it a bit whilst we wait for the mic to get to our friend over here. If you are going to ask a question, I ask that you please say who you are, where you're from. If you're from a competitor, go home. But,
hello, mate.
Tell us a bit who you are, where you're from, and
sure, just pardon my voice. So, name's Vlad. I come from Harold in Germany.
Can you give a bit more volume there?
Area.
Again.
Hi, so my name is Vlad. I come from Frankfurt in Germany, from Harold. We're essentially e-commerce cross-border carrier, but I'm curious in terms of your fulfillment from store. Maybe you could give us a short rundown of the pros and cons of it, and also maybe your personal opinion, what kind of businesses are more suited to that style of fulfillment as opposed to what would not work well, perhaps?
Yeah, great question, thanks. So I'll probably start by saying the pros are probably some of the bits I've touched on previously. In terms of store fulfillment, you're using the asset you've already got. So you're utilising something you've already purchased in terms of lease. In terms of the pros, we see that being really, really close to our customer. So the sites that we've chosen are really in a strategic location, and definitely the stock utilization. So I'd say they're the top 3 for me. In terms of cons, I think where we see automation is probably going to be the challenge for us in the future that we'll need to face into. So it's quite pick and intense. So we use colleagues to pick our products. And for our type of market, we think that's the best model. For others, that might be different. So I probably couldn't comment for other retailers, but things like clothing, anything that's probably small, parcelable, level of automation, can't even say that word, automation.
Got it.
Out of distribution centres for small packet products probably fits better for that model. But probably what I'd say is we've got really good at dealing with big and bulky. So we deal with pallets of plasterboard to a tin of paint to a pack of screws. So our variety of range of products is completely unique in the market. So I'd say anything that's quite uniformed, quite standard, can fix in a box, then I would probably say different fulfillment networks might be better for you.
Good. Any other questions?
Oh,
Thank
sorry,
you.
I can't hear you.
Say who you are, where you're from.
Can you hear me?
Can't hear you just yet,
Can you
sorry.
hear me? I'll shout it if you want. So
Go on.
I'm Peter Griffin from What Three Words.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jamie. You may be about to come onto this, but how does the delivery work from once the pickings? Who does that fulfillment? Is that own fleet or is that a partner?
Yeah, I could go on to talk about that. So in terms of delivery, what we learned through COVID really, really quickly is we had our own fulfillment network. So we had B&Q drivers. And probably we learned that in the market, we weren't probably the market leader in terms of getting product to home. So we partnered with big players. So we've got GXO who partner, so they do our bigger products. So we've got 7.5 ton vehicles and above. We have still got our B&Q fleet, so that is our white van service, which is effectively our one person operation. But we also went down to the nth degree and we partner with DPD. So we actually do parcels out of DPD as well. So there's 3 routes that we get to a customer's home. We've got the big and bulky, the crane vehicles that you'll see on the road. You've got sort of the white vans, but also we use a parcel carrier out of our stores as well.
So can I drill down into that for a second? So you mentioned that your role's very much around all of the digital and making the install bit work.
Yeah.
And then you've got a colleague that handles all the things relating to the delivery side of things. Mm-hmm. To what extent do you have automation looking at what goes through which carrier? How do you actually handle that dynamically?
Yeah, so that's a really interesting question, because that's probably one of the most exciting things we've done over the last 2 years, is we've brought in an order management system which is dynamically sourcing the stock of where that location, where that stock should come from. So when we first started the journey, if you were a customer today in this area, it would source the product from your local fulfillment centre, so Beckton in this scenario. If that stock wasn't ranged or it wasn't in stock, that's the end of your journey as a customer. What we've been able to do with our new order management system in Fluent is use the whole network, so get one view of all of our stock across all of our parts of our business and source that product there. So in that example, if it's not available in Beckton, we'll use the next nearest hub and the next nearest hub after that, and we'll keep finding that product so we can make sure we never lose a sale for the customer. What we saw from the metrics is that actually reduced our cancellation rate by about 20%. So we had some real strong benefit by actually sourcing and using existing stock in our network and finding that product for our customer.
So, are you amongst friends here? No one's going to. We'll come to your question in a second.
Yeah.
You're amongst friends, so you can speak freely, right? No one's going to hear you.
I hope not.
But what you're describing is a very customer-led solution. Are you really saying that if we can't find something here, we'll keep sourcing and sourcing and sourcing? Because the flip side of that is you're adding potential cost.
Yeah.
The further and further and further afield you actually source. Are you really saying that you're customer-led to the point that you'll take that cost, you reduce that margin?
So I'd say it for 60% of our range we are. So we bucket the sort of dynamic sourcing by product type. So you're dead on right. Do I want to be moving a bit of plasterboard from Aberdeen to Beckton? No, I don't. But can I move a tin of paint through DPD? Okay. Absolutely. So depending on what you buy, depends on where we're going to source that product from. But for 60% of our range, absolutely, we'll check every store and we'll try and find that for you. For the others, we work on a ancillary hub basis, so it's basically a radius. So we'll look at the next nearest 3 hubs around you and say, right, can we source that product for you?
Right.
Specifically for the big and bulky stuff. Because you're dead on right. Do I want to be transporting stock from one end of the country to another? Absolutely not.
It's a great question, thank you. And you mentioned the order management system, so in a place like this, you should be saying, who is it that you've been using?
So we use Fluent for that. So we use Fluent to orchestrate all of our orders. The other partner we've used to sort of help us with that order journey is Sentiro. So Sentiro are our customer management system that we use. And really for them, we want one point to bring all of our orders together so then we can translate the right messages to our customers.
Got it. We'll probably come on to that in a second. So a question at the back there. Who you are, where you're from, please?
Hi, I'm Jo from Moonbug Entertainment. I've seen in the press recently that you've started working with Deliveroo for immediate deliveries. I was just wondering what kind of changes you had to make internally to make that work and how the relationship's going.
Yeah, thanks, great question. So what I can share is the Deliveroo partnership is really new for us. So we are testing and learning that off the back of what Screwfix have done. In terms of your question, the store operation we'd had to integrate with Deliveroo at a real level in terms of a systemic point of view. What we've done for phase 1 is we've used existing technology that Deliveroo have given us. So you'll probably see it when you go into normal retailer, they've got those like Deliveroo gun things. We've adopted the same premise. But what we've had to do with Deliveroo is be really specific about the range that we're going to showcase our customers, because they can't carry everything. Like, I'm not going to put a bit of timber on somebody's bike, that's not going to happen. But we can put a tin of paint on someone's bike, and we can put smaller packet products. We are extending that range every day, and we are testing and learning on what the customer behaviors are for that market. So it is really new to us, and we are trying to understand what that quick commerce will be for us in the future. But what I would say is it's really encouraging. So we've seen some really encouraging results.
Good. So I want to drop down into the practicalities of this, because I want to talk about metrics and I want to talk about your partners.
Yeah.
You've mentioned a few times, yes, this works for us, this works for us, this works for us. So what are the sort of metrics that you're using to judge and evaluate? Because you described a business that's very ready to test and learn. So how do you actually see that something's learning? What are the metrics that you use to decide that?
So I think the first metrics we use is customer. So we do put customer lens over everything we do, and we use Net Promoter Score as our #1 priority. So for all of our different partners and 3PLs that we use, GXO, B&Q, even My Fleet, and DPD, we've got some really clear metrics that we look at in terms of NPS.
Right.
The other one I'd say in terms of sales, so are our sales growing? Are they liking what we're offering in terms of delivery choice and speed to market? The other bits we use are probably more profitable, things like cost to serve. And then in the logistics world, things like stem mileage in terms of profitability. But cost to serve is probably our biggest one. And we also look at channel profitability on all of our channels, click and collect, all the way up until delivering a kitchen.
So I was at an event yesterday with one of your colleagues, Jamie, and he was describing quite a different relationship with your partners. So you bring the metrics into the business from your customers, and you leave your badges at the door, and you genuinely try and tackle the fundamental issues. I mean, is that real?
Yeah, absolutely real. We've instilled that ethos where we want to work as one team. So no matter whether you're GXO, DPD, PJH, any of the big suppliers that we work with, we really wanted to work collaboratively together to really move on this customer proposition. And that's from the stores to the suppliers. And we really work collaboratively against all the different functions in our business to really strive for a better service for our customer.
Did you catch that though? So leave your badge at the door, suppliers. We're all in this as part of the B&Q family, and we're encouraging you to look at this as our problem.
Yeah.
So can I push that a bit further? So you've probably got some suppliers that do a really, really good job. To what extent are you finding, because we're actually talking about how do you streamline operations and so on. So if you've got a supplier that's doing a really good job, how ready are they to actually share with all the other suppliers in the room to say, we're a bathroom supplier, because I believe they're pretty good.
They are
right?
pretty good, yeah.
How do we actually encourage them to say, and this is how we can all be better? Do you really have that sort of conversation?
Yeah, and this is, again, I think we'd all be really honest, it's been a very tricky conversation to have with suppliers because it's something they're not really used to, so they're not used to sharing between the different 3PLs, and we've had to take them along that journey. But I guess what we're all doing is, sort of the position we're sharing is you're part of that B&Q success. So you're part of the B&Q family, you're part of that one team. We want to get better together, and we see that relationship is really our strength.
So in terms of streamlining operations and so on, you've described a store-based approach.
Yep.
You've taken the hit that you can't put as much automation in place with a human-based picking approach, but you want to do that because it means you can get closer to your customers. Mm-hmm. You've got a rich network of quite different partners that actually do the delivery, including guys on bikes. Are there any particular things that you've learned that have worked well, and maybe things to avoid as folks consider some of this stuff? Start with what's worked less well. What's your key learning?
What's my key learning? So I'd say the number one thing when we set off this COVID journey was, like every retailer at that point in time, it was a bit tricky, but we were getting some really good growth. So we opened probably 69 DigiHubs. So we opened really, really fast. What we probably didn't do at that point was take the data that we had and made some really sensible decisions about what's the right location for our business.
Right.
We had too many. So when we opened up this journey, we had to optimize the amount. We've got 53 now in our network, and we feel that that's the right number to cover the customer base we want. But I'd say location was key. That was the big thing we learned really, really, really quickly. And the second thing we learned was about efficiencies. So when you're picking a bit of plasterboard to a bit of timber to a bit of a packet of screws, we found that quite hard to sort of work out how do you pick that? What's the right bit of equipment we have? And hopefully nobody from Kingfisher's here to share this. But we made probably an error when we started, and a real key learning for us was we bought picking trolleys. I don't know if you've ever seen them in Tesco's, and we painted them bright orange. They looked amazing. I loved them. They were fantastic. But I remember the first day when somebody started and we got a pick come through, and it was for a sheet of plasterboard. And the guy looked at this picking trolley and was like, "Must not go on there." So we found that really hard to sort of adapt with our picking process. And probably the other bit is, we had to learn really, really quickly to be as efficient as possible. So when I say every second counts in a picking operation. And again, more different to sort of a foodie is our range and variety causes us some different challenges. So we are so laser focused on looking at that end-to-end journey from point of pick to point of it going onto the van, is how can we streamline it? How can we make it better? And that is our main focus in terms of channel profitability.
So yesterday your colleague Rob said, yep, that's really critical.
Yep.
When you talk tomorrow to Jamie, mention our end-to-end map, end-to-end journey map. Take a moment to talk about that. So you've mapped from the customer's perspective, from the point they find you, right the way through ordering and so on to the point they actually get the product. Maybe they want to return it to you or buy again. You've mapped that entire end-to-end experience from the customer's perspective.
Yeah, we've gone to that level of degree that actually we wanted to really understand that journey back to front, end to end, to really understand where the key pain points for our customers and where we're going to focus next. So that's where we got to the order management really, really quickly that said, actually, that's a key pain point for our customers. We know that when they go on the website, they go through to checkout, and it basically says, computer says no at the end. Why does it say that? And it says that because actually that wasn't available in their local hub. So we had to find a different solution. So yeah, we have mapped that out. There are some really key opportunities, and we're excited by the future in terms of the next few years and what we can do to make that better.
Cool. One of the things that the delegates decided to do yesterday was we're going to get together on the 15th and actually go into the practical details of how to map the end-to-end experience. If you're interested in joining that call, I'll leave you a barcode at the end that you can join that call to learn about mapping the end-to-end experience. So I want to start to wind up. Any questions before we do from folks on the floor? How's it been? Has it been useful? Yeah, practical? We've got a guy at the front here that wants to ask a question, good-looking guy. Mm-hmm. All the people that have been asking questions have been good-looking guys. Have you noticed that?
You didn't say that about me though, did you?
Yeah, hi there. So
who you are, where you're from?
My name's Amar from Elman, based in Glasgow. So my question is, for small businesses that can't afford, obviously, these more expensive softwares and packages, can you recommend more simpler software, some tools that you could recommend that we could use for inventory control and streamlining operations?
Do you want to mention the question again? So for smaller businesses, how can you use some of these techniques?
Yeah, I probably haven't got a supplier I'd recommend. I'd say obviously Fluent for us is a big player in the market in terms of that order management system, and I would definitely recommend Sentiro in terms of that customer management system. They'd be the two that we use in B&Q. I haven't had much exposure in terms of that level, but as I say, I definitely would recommend the store fulfillment model because you're using an existing asset you've got today. You're using stock you've already bought. You've got colleagues that you can make more productive than they are today by using existing infrastructure. So I'm a big fan of store fulfillment. Well, it is my job, I suppose it should be. Yeah.
Any other questions before we conclude? Thank you. We've got a question at the front here. Another good-looking guy.
Yeah.
Who you are, where you're from?
Fernando from Fem Limited, London. Hindsight, they say, is always 20/20. What was the most expensive lesson that you've learned on this journey?
The most expensive lesson was opening the 67 hubs. So we had to make some tough decisions to close them, and that was the most expensive thing as part of our journey, if I'm honest.
Yeah, and to do that quickly, because it felt like the learning was, it took a while to arrive at that.
Yeah.
Okay, Man's given me the 5-minute warning, and I want to start to conclude. What you heard is somebody that's started packing, on the shop floor and has risen to a senior leadership role. I'm really, really grateful for the time this morning, Jamie, but also the chance to prepare. And what I heard is somebody that's got quite well-developed organizational agility. I think if you're going to be running a role like this, you need to be able to collaborate and develop empathy with your colleagues in sales, in product, in HR, and so on. And that struck me, I'm not just saying it because you sat next to me, somebody that understands the issues and challenges and opportunities across the business. If you're looking for someone to do this in your business, pick someone that's actually got that organizational agility. I'm also struck by how clear the customer promise is. This is what we want to do. This is how we want people to feel when they engage with us, whether they're customers, their colleagues, or partners. That's really quite evolved in the B&Q business, and they seem to use that as a North Star. And also they're prepared to actually say to their partners, do you know what, we're all in this together in terms of achieving on that. That's also quite impressive and quite rare. They're quite brave in terms of taking some big decisions quickly, and also humble enough to say, do you know what, that ain't working, let's retreat from that and actually consolidate on what's going to work. I want to give you the floor though to say one thing. If you've got colleagues here that are actually wanting to streamline things, is there a single thing to consider doing first? What's the one thing that folks should do to maybe make a start on this journey?
It probably goes back to what I said earlier, location. That was the one thing that we learned really, really quickly. If you get this in the right spot, it will help you for future propositions. So if you think about quick commerce, you think about what that exciting developments are going to be in the future, you want to be as close to the customer as possible.
Brilliant. I'm sure you want to show your appreciation in the usual way. Jamie, if folks want to reach out to you on LinkedIn.
Yeah, absolutely fine.
Thank you again.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank
thanks.
you.